The next type of connective tissue is bone connective tissue. Usually we're used to referring to bone connective tissue as just bone tissue, but again, make sure that you're putting that word connective in there. Now, we will be discussing bone connective tissue in much greater depth when we work on lab number 3. We start to look at the skeletal system. But we might as well introduce the parts that we're going to see there. So if you look at these 3 structures here, it looks like you've got 3 bullseyes. Okay, each one of these structures is known as an osteon. Now, smack dab in the middle of each osteon, like you see right here, is going to be a structure called the central canal. Central canal is going to be a space in which you're going to find blood vessels and nerves. Now, coming out of the central canal, here we see one, here we see one, and here we see one, is a layer of matrix. Each layer of matrix is known as a lamella with an A. To make it plural, we put an E at the end, and we call it lamellae. And the lamellae are going to surround that central canal. Coming out from the central canal and going through the different lamellae are these little canals. Each little canal is going to be responsible for moving water, oxygen, and nutrients, and that little canal we call a canaliculus. The plural form of canaliculus is canaliculi. Now, the cells that we find here in bone connective tissue, you can't actually see. The process of slicing and preserving these tissues is going to destroy any of the cells, but they would be osteocytes, mature bone cells, if we could see them. But they're located in a hole, in a space in the matrix, and the name is the same that we used for cartilage connective tissue, which is called lacuna. And then the matrix is all that non-living stuff that's going to be surrounding the cells. And bone connective tissue matrix is going to be made up of collagen and hydroxyapatite, which we will talk more about when we get into lecture, but it's a calcium and phosphorus compound that's going to make bone very rigid and tough. The last type of connective tissue, so here we see bone connective tissue. This is an osteon right here, and here is our central canal. And you can see the different layers of lamella that are surrounding the central canal. If we zoom in at higher magnification, well, that's not higher, that's higher magnification. You can see that there is a space in the matrix here where we would find osteocytes or bone connective tissue cells if they weren't destroyed in the process of making them. That space again is called lacuna, and connecting lacuna and between the lacuna and the central canal, we've got these little canals which are called canaliculi, plural, canaliculus, singular. And the last type of connective tissue that we're going to be talking about here is blood connective tissue. And blood connective tissue is kind of interesting because in this case the matrix is going to be a liquid. Now there's 3 different types of cells that we find in blood connective tissue, and I want you to be able to identify these types of cells, even though you'll learn way more about this in the next course, Biology 245. Now most of the cells that you're going to find in blood connective tissue are erythrocytes. You probably learned them as red blood cells when you were taking your 5th grade health class, but please refer to them by their proper term as erythrocytes. And erythrocytes are responsible for carrying oxygen using this red protein that contains iron that we call hemoglobin. Leukocytes, or what you probably learned as white blood cells, these are way less common. So 97-98% of all the cells that you find are going to be erythrocytes. 2 to 3% of the cells that you see are going to be leukocytes, and these cells are responsible for helping us to fight off pathogens. We're also going to see these little cell fragments in between all the other cells. These are platelets, and platelets are going to be used to help blood to clot if there's damage to a blood vessel. And here we see kind of a low magnification of blood connective tissue. Most of the cells here are erythrocytes, and there are 2 leukocytes. Leukocytes tend to be a little bigger and way less common than the erythrocytes are. Here's a higher magnification image showing lots of erythrocytes, 2 leukocytes, and then a few platelets in here too. And that's a different type of leukocyte that you see right here. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about nervous tissue and a little bit about muscular tissue. Nervous tissue, which we will be talking about in this course, 245 or 244, is going to be made up of 2 types of cells. The first type of cell that you see here, this is called a neuron, and this is the cell that's actually going to be making up the brain, the spinal cord, and the nerves, and it's going to be responsible for moving action potentials or impulses. In addition, we're going to have these other tiny little cells that are going to be surrounding the neurons. These are called neuroglial cells. But for this test, for test number 1, just be able to recognize this as a neuron and the tissue as nervous tissue. And then finally, we've got the 4th type of tissue, which is muscle tissue. We will be talking about muscle tissue in much greater depth. I think it's lab number 4 or 5. Okay, for this test, for test number 1, you only have to recognize which of the 3 types of muscle tissues that we have. And the first type of muscle tissue is skeletal muscle tissue. As the name implies, skeletal muscle tissue is going to attach to the skeleton. And although it's not a characteristic I want you to use to identify the tissues, skeletal muscle tissue is under conscious control. So if you can think to lift your hand up in the air, that is skeletal muscle tissue that you're using. Okay, a few important characteristics of skeletal muscle tissue. This doesn't form true cells, but it forms fibers. So here's a skeletal muscle fiber, here's a skeletal muscle fiber, here is a skeletal muscle fiber. These fibers form during the development of the embryo when individual cells grow together. What this gives us is in a particular muscle fiber that you see here, there are multiple nuclei. So we say skeletal muscle tissue is made up of skeletal muscle fibers that are multinucleate. There are multiple nuclei inside. Now be careful. When you're looking at these cells, you probably notice these lines that are moving perpendicular to the long axis of the cell. So here's the fiber. Here's the long axis of the fiber, and you see striations. Okay? I don't want you to use striations as a key characteristic of skeletal muscle tissue because cardiac muscle tissue, which we also will see, also has striations. The second type of muscle tissue is cardiac muscle tissue. Cardiac muscle tissue is that tissue that is found in the heart. There are 2 key characteristics that I want you to know for cardiac muscle tissue. One of them is not the presence of striations. Again, I don't want you to use striations as a key characteristic because although cardiac muscle has striations, they're also found in skeletal muscle tissue as well. And as a result, I don't want you to use that as a key characteristic. Okay, key characteristic number 1. If you notice in our cells here, so here's a cardiac muscle cell, here's a cardiac muscle cell, here's a cardiac muscle cell. There's this line that's going to separate one cardiac muscle cell from another. That structure is called an intercalated disc. Intercalated discs are key characteristics in cardiac muscle tissue. The second characteristic is that these tissues are branched. Now, not all cardiac muscle tissue cells will be branched. But if you notice there, it's kind of a Y-shaped structure here, and there's a Y-shaped structure over here. This tells you that those are cardiac muscle cells. Now, taking a look at lower magnification, you can see even more branching taking place over here. These are very common examples of cardiac muscle tissue. And the last of the muscle tissue types is smooth muscle tissue. Smooth muscle tissue doesn't look like cardiac or skeletal muscle. It certainly doesn't have striations, but what you've got are these long, skinny, thin cells that are tapered. They come down to a point. And although you don't need to know it for the test, smooth muscle would be found in like our digestive organs, and they would be responsible for moving food through our gut. And this ends the final presentation for histology.